All right, so we're here. This is Dave with wetflyswing.com, and we're here with Greg Weisgerber. And today we're going to be talking about fly fishing for bass and tying flies for bass. And Greg is bringing a bunch of different things to the table that I usually don't have, and I'm kind of learning as I go, especially as I talk to people out there in the community that are interested in getting into this. So today we're going to pick Greg's brain about bass fishing, tying flies, how to maybe transition from trout into bass and those sorts of things. So yeah, Greg, you ready to get started here?
Yeah, let's do this.
All right. So I guess maybe you can start first talking about a little bit how you got into bass fly fishing and tying flies for bass.
Yeah. So, started out kind of like you did. Grew up in Oregon. Parents are from Central Oregon, fishing trout, salmon, steelhead, and all that. And I've always liked variety, but there just wasn't. That's just what we did. And I know there was probably some bass fishing in Oregon, but we just didn't do it. You just didn't do that. So I really didn't get into that. Just did the normal for us, for what was normal for us. And then I ended up going to college in Oklahoma, and that's what their fishing is all about, is warm water, bass, panfish, and that's really my introduction to it was in Oklahoma.
Yep, nice. And what do you think? As Oklahoma, do you think that's? I mean, coming from a non-bass fishing background, is that kind of the bred bass? Is that where if you learn techniques there, do you think it applies to? We're in Oregon now.
Yeah.
Out here in the lake, do you think it applies pretty good?
Yeah. I think it does. I mean, I think everything's a generalization, because every body of water you're going to fish its own way. Like for instance, I mean, we're on Davis Lake in Oregon right now trying to fish for these bass, and this is a high mountain lake, and I mean the fish they do act differently than they do in Oklahoma. But I mean it's all about the same. I mean a largemouth bass is generally going to do the same. They like to associate towards structure. They're ambush predators.
Right.
They don't like the light. Morning and evening fishing is generally better. So
what is what do you think as far as flies when you get into it? There's all sorts of different patterns.
Yeah.
But are you tying, kind of, you're imitating fish?
That's really what. So my first fly that I tied was more of an attractor pattern, which actually your dad named the GW's Glory,
exactly.
And that's been out, and I've done an article on it. It's been on the internet a bunch of times.
And we'll post a link here, and post some photos in this, in the show notes. But
yeah. So that was and it's just a general attractor. And what's funny is it actually became very popular here for salmon and steelhead. Alaska too. It got popular for that. But as I started fishing more and more for bass, I personally, the way I fish. And what worked for me was patterns, just like for trout. I mean, I guess it's a trout fisherman in me is trying to match the hatch.
Yeah.
With bass, it was the same thing. So I really migrated towards. A lot of my patterns are more for imitating bait fish, and that. I definitely probably lean a little bit more towards that. And the thing about bass fishing, and it gets bass fly tying. It gets. People do some crazy stuff, and it all works. So people kind of think, oh, bass are easy to catch because you can just throw anything at them. Right. That's not true. I mean, we've been skunked today.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're not that simple. There's some method to the madness with them. But there's a lot of all types of all the species of fish you can tie flies for. You probably have more variety with bass.
Okay.
But I find more success with the bait fish.
Yep. Okay.
Imitations.
And a lot of the people that are going to be getting into, might be listening to this will be maybe just getting into it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is, for those people just getting started, or maybe for you, what is the hardest part about fly fishing for bass or tying bass flies?
So for fishing for them, they're pretty much, and when we're talking about bass, I'm talking more about largemouth. Smallmouth I think is a different subject. They're great too, but I'm talking about largemouth. Mm-hmm. Largemouth bass are usually in lakes. I mean, you'll catch them in rivers once in a while, but they're just totally different than trout in the way they move. They like to associate towards structure. They'll be in the shallows in the morning. Then as the day warms, they might go out in the depths. So finding them can be a challenge.
Thing. Yeah.
That's what I find.
And then once you find them, by maybe you're hooking into them or your fish finder or something, then what's the next struggle once you find them?
Hooking them. They have really strong mouths, and so these mosquitoes.
Yep.
Strongmouths, and they'll bite a fly and hang on to it, and it feels like you have it. And unless you line set, point the rod and then really yank
Yep.
to get that hook set, you'll lose them.
Yep.
And I can tell you, because I'll go trout fishing a lot, and then I forget to do that,
Yep.
and I'll lose a bass
Right.
or two.
So it's
before I
basically,
remember.
so you're basically just
You're
pulling
just
one
pointing
strip.
your rod at them and just yank. So you need a strong tippet,
Yep.
like 12 to 15 pound.
Yeah.
They're not leader shy.
And is that standard for like even if you're
Anywhere.
getting smaller? It's always that's
Even the smaller ones,
Yep.
yeah.
okay.
Very strong, hard mouths. Their mouth, the inside of their mouth's like leather
Yep.
almost.
Nice.
So yeah.
Cool. And what's your if you had to pick one, one pattern, your kind of your go-to pattern? What is that one?
Well, it's one that I tied and invented, and it's called the Broadside Minnow, and it's basically a minnow. A lot of minnow patterns. What I have found back when I invented this in the '90s, and I did an article on that too while I was in Oklahoma, to imitate shad. Shad are a wide-bodied bait fish, right? A lot of our fish around here are narrow,
Yep.
but a lot of the flies that I found that imitate bait fish are puffy, and wide outside of water, but as soon as they hit the water, that material sucks down and gets very narrow.
Yep.
So this
like
pattern
a woolly
is
bugger, basically.
Yeah,
but it
this
just
pattern
becomes a thin.
Yeah, it becomes very thin,
Yep.
right, like a leech.
Yep.
And
And
so that doesn't work for those wide-bodied fish. This pattern, maybe you can put a link up to it or a picture
Yep.
somewhere too for
Yep.
it. Employs some liquid glue.
And this is this the broadside minnow?
Yeah, the
Yep.
broadside minnow, and it holds its shape. And I by far have caught more large bass with that than any other. And the thing is, it imitates a lot of things. It can imitate, like you said, the shads that I made it for originally. It can do chubs
Yep.
here in Oregon, panfish. It's
Yep.
great for panfish.
So just depending on the size, or are you going with one standard size?
Both.
Yeah.
You can do any size. You can do various sizes as well. It's better in the larger.
Yeah.
In the larger
Yep.
sizes. I have made really, size 10s, and it's just not as effective.
Yep.
But the nice thing is you can match the hatch with that type of fly too.
Yep.
It can imitate many different fish.
Okay. And so again, going back to the if you were just that person just starting out, if you're just getting going, what's the the short answer, the easy way to just to catch your first bass? Do you think fly fishing?
Do it the right time of year and use a popper.
Oh, really?
Because also it's the most fun. I mean, just like any fish, any type of fishing, top water's the most fun. Dry flies with trout.
Yeah.
That's the most fun. So use a popper. Go in the summertime. Go in the morning. Find a place that there are bass. Find a weed line, because they're going to probably be in there, or
Yep.
some rocks or something. A rocky dam or something
Right.
to that effect. Go in the morning. Really, I'm talking like
Yeah.
the crack of dawn.
And that's because you're going to have calmer conditions, or
It's going to be calmer, and those fish will be in the shallows. They'll be in that closer.
yeah. And then what about when
Closer
you're
in
coming
water.
up? Like I'm thinking you're in your float tube or something, or boat or whatever. How do you not spook the fish, or is that something that you're worried
Yeah, you
about?
do. You got to be careful. People think that bass are just brutes that aren't afraid of anything. They are. They spook like crazy. So, yeah, approach with care. Go. A float tube's a great way to do it, because you can go slow. Just kick up, get about 10, 15 feet from the shore, and just cast your popper in, and just do it kind of slowly.
Yeah. And what's the technique when you're doing a popper? I mean, you maybe you can run through a quick little. Are you
Yeah,
casting it and stripping? Or?
So yeah, you cast and you'll strip it, and you want to make up. So let it hit. A lot of times, what I've found, there are some times I get a little impatient, and I'll just cast and not even strip it in. I'll just cast and let it hit really hard, and a lot of times that'll make a bass strike, or you'll hit a bass right there and they'll strike. So you can cover a lot of water that way. Otherwise, you'll just cast, do a pop, wait like 30 seconds. Be patient. It's hard to be patient. You want to just strip it in, but the bass a lot of times will just look at that, or it takes them a little time to get their attention. They'll come from a distance over.
Right.
So every 30 seconds or so, give it a pop, but give it some variation. And then if that doesn't work, move on, just like your trout fishing.
And what color popper do you think, or type of fly? Is there a pattern, or does it matter?
Yeah, deer hair poppers. There's so many foam poppers out there. No, I wouldn't use anything too big. Like a size 1 or something to start with.
Okay.
Isn't too terribly large.
And these are poppers like they could be deer hair poppers,
Right.
or we tied that one deer hair popper, but there's also foam.
The thing with advantage with a foam popper, that you can get one with cupped face. They make a lot of splash and a lot of noise.
This is a dry line?
Yeah.
Yep.
And you're using a dry line. Floating line with a regular 9-foot leader.
Yep.
Is just fine.
Okay. So cast out there, let it sit maybe 15, 20 seconds.
Yep. And then after the sun gets on the water, switch to, you can even just put for somebody starting out, just put on a big woolly bugger, and then just troll back and forth. Because what'll happen is those fish will start going into deeper water. Those bass will start going into deeper water because of the temperatures warming. They don't like a lot of fish don't like looking up at the sun, and they don't like to be prey.
Cool.
You know, the birds start flying around looking for them.
Nice. Awesome. Well, we're doing good zipping through here. I think I've got we're almost about halfway through this, so I got a couple other things I want to hit on here, but just generally, I guess we've kind of hit on this a little bit. What for you? What's your biggest struggle with bass fly fishing or fly fishing or tying?
Well, fly fishing for them. I mean, even when I was in Oklahoma, even though there was bass in every reservoir, it was just finding them, and they got pounded on just like trout here. And like I said, when I first started fishing for them, I always had, because the trout people sometimes kind of think they're a little less than, they maybe don't fight as hard as salmon and and trout.
So they're not quite as the best species to be going for.
That's generally what. But I'm also, we're from Oregon, so we hear that a lot. But the rest of the nation knows that has bass. But they're just not. I had it in my mind that I would go and they're easy to catch. They're not.
Yeah.
They're not. I've had them in shallow water where you can see them. You'll cast to them and you'll have them just follow that fly, and they just won't take it. As opposed to gear fishing. Gear has, bass lures have a lot of rattles. They have a lot of other things that just really make
So fish are going to just hit it.
They just seem to really hit the. Because I would fish in Oklahoma. My roommate, he had a bunch of private land his parents had, and they had access to private ponds.
That's right.
And he would outfish me every time.
Yeah.
With his gear rattle traps and stuff, which I expected.
Yeah.
Because he's able to cast more and faster than I can.
But don't you? And you have a rattle fly?
I do tie flies with rattles too. Yeah. Certainly do. Yeah. That Broadside Minnow that's so effective for me doesn't have one though.
Yeah.
And I don't use them a lot.
Yeah.
But I do use them.
Yeah. Okay. And what's the going back to the basics again? What if somebody's just getting into it, they have a trout set up. They've never fished for bass. What is their basic? What do they need to get to fish for bass?
Yeah.
If they want to go?
I mean, you can use a 6-weight. It would be challenging though. Yeah. I mean, if you get a 1 pound, 2 pound bass on there, you can.
So a 6-weight is almost, you're pushing a little bit too late.
Yeah, I would say at least a 7-weight. If you're going to do it, I would get an 8-weight. And I'll tell you, when I fished in Oklahoma, because there was a lot of structure and a lot of stuff, I actually built a 10-weight rod. 2 reasons: because I was casting big flies, and that made it easier.
Right.
And then it also helped me to pull bass out of weeds and over logs and things like that. Yep. I mean, you got to kind of go to battle with them.
Yeah. And are you getting down, like, how often are you getting down on the bottom when you're fishing? Are you snagging up a lot?
Yeah, you can. So then you'll see if we show some of these flies that we tie, we put weed guards on them, and they help. They don't keep you off of everything, but they help. But I definitely, just like trout fishing, what's that analogy or number? 90% of your fishing is
under the surface.
Bass same way.
Really?
Bass is the same way.
Yeah, but they are eating at times. Poppers are a little bit different because that's not really. But
they'll eat fish at the surface. Yeah. They'll like tuna do in the ocean. They'll take schools of bass. Will take schools of shad and push them to the surface, and you'll see them jumping out of the water. And that's a good place. If you see that, go and cast right into that.
Yeah, cool. I was going to mention, just before I forget, I'll hit this at the end, but what's the best way to get in touch with you, if they want to check out your, GW's Glory or kind of get into that? Is there a good way they can just reach out to you? And
yeah, probably. Just an email. I don't, I used to kind of be into the flies, and life, jobs, and kids and everything takes over. But I have an email address that we can. It's just my personal email address.
Yeah.
Do you
want to throw that out just so?
Yeah. It's grgwsgbr@gmail.com. That's just my email address.
So let me get this straight. This is grgws GRBR.
Yeah.
Damn, that is
it's
that's a mouthful.
So I've had that email back in the AOL days, 15, 20 years ago, because that's all I could find. Yeah.
I'm gonna
everything else was taken.
That's gonna be
I probably need to get a new one.
Yep. I'm gonna have that in the show notes. That email so they can. But yeah, definitely.
It's obnoxious. I know. I know. I'll change it.
So now, do you do more? These days, do you do more tying bass flies, or fishing for bass?
Tying by
Yeah.
far. Life, right? I mean, I love
Yep.
it. I mean, we both work, and I have kids now, and all that responsibility,
Yep.
and I love it. I'm teaching my kids how to fly fish, but
Yep.
I definitely tie, and I love it. I've always loved tying flies, and the creativity you can do with bass flies
Yep.
is what draws me to it, and then saltwater too. I was
Yeah.
able to, before we had kids, got into some saltwater, which is similar to bass fishing.
Right.
I definitely tie a lot.
Yep.
Definitely tie a lot.
And on the kids' note, what's the any tips to help other parents maybe get their kids into fishing? What do you think is the secret?
Yeah, get them out. Just do it, right? My wife's a teacher. I am not, and
That's right.
And
Yeah, I forgot
somehow I still have taught my daughters how to. I mean, my oldest this year, she was casting,
Yep.
drifting, and hooking trout
Yep.
on her own with
Totally.
waders.
So you got her out there. So you have a special rod, or just give her one of your?
Yeah. So I started with her. I built her a little 5-foot.
Yep.
rod,
Oh, really? Nice.
and then we went to a 7-foot
like a little
rod.
like a 3-weight or something.
Yeah,
super light?
well, I think it was a 5-weight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I built her that, and that worked okay. And then I moved her to a 7-foot rod, which is really good for her. She's 8 years old
Yep.
right now, and just this last March, I got my 5-year-old out there too, and
Yep.
and
Nice.
that's more rewarding than anything.
Totally.
Right. I
Yep.
mean, there's
So these, So basically,
two girls, and
get
they
them a
love it.
rod that's pretty light, get them out there, and just give it to them. Just let them start kind of casting.
Try to be patient.
Yeah. Yep.
Which I am
Like
not,
anything.
but it still works.
Yep.
And
Yep.
yeah, I just got it. My little one, Abby is the 8-year-old. Did very good. She's a very good learner, right?
Yep.
Because I'm not the best teacher.
Right.
so.
Yeah, it's funny to think because you're out on the Crooked River fishing with them, but you go back to the day. I mean, that's pretty much where I
Right, that's where
kind
we
of
all
learned to
started.
fish
Right,
too, which is crazy.
What's funny, I mean, my family's from Prineville, right there on the Crooked
Yep.
River.
That's
and,
right.
I mean, my dad grew up fishing there. I
Yep.
grew up fishing on
Yep.
it. And
Exactly.
Yeah, it's been great.
Cool. Well, are there any? It sounds like you don't. I mean, do you get into the techie stuff? Is there anything like I don't know, any special things? Maybe some stuff if people are tying flies that they might think about. As far as like, is there any new technology that you know about, or is it pretty much flies or deer hair? And
I'll tell you what, I love the flash, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
what it is,
Yeah.
every year, Cabela's or Orvis or whatever comes out with their magazines. I always scan them to see if there's any new materials, and in the last few years there really hasn't been. But flash materials, I mean, that's really the thing.
Yep.
The fish finders are getting easier to find, and I've had some variations on those, and I'm tempted to get one again, not just to find the fish, but just to be able to see the depths too. Because once again,
Yeah.
getting your fly down to the fish or where the fish, that's what's most important, and that can be challenging.
Yep, totally. Yeah, no, that flash is a good one. I mean, I think about that with like steelhead fishing. I mean, you can go just without flash, standard,
Yeah.
traditional, almost like just buggy colors. But it seems like when you throw a little bit of tinge, it
It
doesn't
doesn't have to be
a lot.
much, yeah, right. I mean, you've taught me that.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yep.
the opposite, right? I tie big flies,
Right,
and you've
totally.
taught me that you catch giant seal with these little,
Yep.
and
And a little bit of flash.
That's what's
Yeah.
great about fishing.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So getting down to kind of brass tacks, what do you think are like, if people had to take away 3 tips for maybe you can go into either fly fishing for, bass or tying
Yeah,
flies.
yeah.
What do you think are 3 tips you would give them to?
Really have the right gear. We've talked about the trout stuff, but if you want to get serious about bass fishing,
Yeah.
get yourself an 8-weight rod.
Yep.
Get yourself the right type of line that's matched.
And what is
to
the,
casting.
do you have is it a multi-tip sort of line or one tip or?
Well, honestly, a floating like bass taper, because those are really thick, and then you can always put a sink tip on them. Now I understand the intermediate lines maybe cast a little better,
Yeah.
are a little more, easier to use, but those are the best for versatility.
Yeah.
And then maybe sometime we can get into my little weight system that I
Oh, right.
kind
yeah,
of
totally.
invented for
Yeah,
bass, which
yeah.
helps as well.
Yep. Yeah. You mean the cone head?
Yeah, the cone head adapter.
Yeah,
and
maybe
the
you can
cone
just
head.
touch on that for a sec. I mean, I think I was using it today. We were out there, and the nice thing is that with your normal, kind of pattern you put on, it's going to sink along with the fly. But when you put this cone head thing,
It basically turns it into a jig, and I don't know. I'm telling you, in salt water, in fresh water,
Yeah.
when you turn that fly and give it that fast darting,
Right.
fish go crazy
Yeah.
for it. So what it is I realized when I was bass fishing on the as far as this cone head adapter system goes, when I was bass fishing, I realized I could use one fly in all situations if I can get it deep. So when I was fishing
right.
for bass with like the Glory or something in deep water, I would take a split shot and just put it right in front of its head,
Yep.
and that just
Totally.
it's kind of looks
Yeah.
crappy and kind
Yeah.
of still it kind
so
of
you'd,
flexes.
So you'd put it like just right by the...
Yeah, it would
okay.
move, it would fall off, it would
Yeah.
go up the leader, but I'll tell you, it would work. It would get the fly down. And then when the fish started moving in, or in the evenings, so in the mornings they'll fish near the surface,
Yeah.
and in the evenings.
Yeah.
So we would fish, during the day deep,
Right.
and in the evening they start to go towards the surface.
And
so
you
I
would
could-
use the GW's Glory in the...
yeah, take that split shot off and put a popper head on that body,
Yeah.
on that fly, and now I had a surface fly. So with one fly and those couple attachments, I could fish every depth.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's what that cone head adapter, basically that's
Yep.
a little cone that I designed and had manufactured, and it just
Mhm.
allows you to put a cone head onto your fly.
Mhm.
So that depth is important.
Yeah, we'll add that to the show notes as well, because that's it's kind of a cool thing, because typically in all sorts of fishing you do this. You could put a bead on your thing or whatever,
Yeah.
and you just throw it on your line and it'll slide up and down, and usually it's
Right.
going to be on the end by your hook.
Right.
But what your thing does is that
It attaches.
it attaches to
Yeah.
it and allows
It's
you
permanent.
to detach it easily.
And I had people question that and go, well, how does that work? Well, I'm telling you, I fish it like in salt water,
Yeah.
and if you don't attach it to it, it'll end up sliding around. It
Exactly,
doesn't
yeah.
give the fly that action.
Yeah, totally.
It doesn't drop it down.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
So the second, back to your question, the second tip,
Oh yeah.
get out there at the right times. Get out there early in the morning if you want to fish the surface. Get out there early in the morning, and then when the sun hits the water, start thinking about getting deeper and learn the body of water. Maybe get a map and check out what the depths are wherever you're going, and do your homework ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third one, honestly, remember to just line set that, because once you have
Yeah.
a bass on with 15-pound line, you're probably not going to lose it. I mean, that's super strong.
Totally.
But remember to just hook that fish, because
Yep.
I can't tell you how many times I have lost bass, big bass, because I didn't set the hook
Right.
properly.
So you had a fish on, and eventually it popped off.
Just set off,
Yeah.
because they bite it,
Yep.
and then just let it go.
What? So remind me again the three tips. So the first one was...
Choose your gear right.
Yep.
Get the right gear.
So don't screw around with fishing with your 6-weight trout
I really
rod
wouldn't.
and a...
I mean,
you
I know
you
it's
probably
money, but
maybe you have an intermediate lake line or whatever you're using for trout. Don't screw around that. Get
the right-
down to the right depth.
get the right gear. I'm
And
telling
then-
you, it's going to make it more enjoyable
Yep.
for you too if you get the right gear. Learn your water and go at the right times.
Yep.
Go at the right times for
totally.
the bass.
And the
then,
line set, and that's a great, because that's one I
and
would
then line
never think about either.
yeah.
Do you? I noticed when we were tying, you had you had your scissors on your while you're tying, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
tie. Are there any other tips that you use to think about? I think you hear about people out there tying faster flies and trying to get anything you do that you think maybe makes your tying easier or faster.
Yeah, totally. Because there was a time I did
'Cause I still
production
do that.
tying for your dad.
And I still do that. I still, to this day, I set my scissors down just because it's the habit I've always done.
Isn't that funny? And I've
Yeah.
always I
Yeah.
got into keeping them on there. So there was a time when I did sell some flies but getting your material set out. So say, okay, I'm going to tie 6 glories, or whatever, and it has a rabbit tail strip. Have the rabbit tail
Yeah.
set out. You
Maybe
can
you
even
could-
cut it to size.
Maybe you can explain just the fly, what it is.
Yeah. So it's a rabbit tail, or I'm sorry, a zonker strip tail.
Zonker. And coloration?
It could be any color, but the colors the original color was hot pink,
Oh yeah, that's right.
purple cactus chenille, which is the thick. I'm not talking the little cat. This is a size 3/0 fly. This is a big fly.
Yep.
Cactus chenille, rubber leg
Oh,
collar,
right,
so
right.
to speak.
How many, like a rubber leg in the front, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's a like Silly Legs is a brand.
Right.
It's a strip, and you just cut that down the middle.
Yep,
Tie
that's
that
right.
on, and then
Silly
tie them
legs.
in reverse
Yep.
order. So there's not a lot of materials, and then it also has a weed guard.
Yeah.
It has that
That's
that
right.
line
Which we
weed
showed.
guard.
And
Yep.
we'll be hitting on. We'll have a couple more videos. Actually, that's what we'll probably link up here. Is
I've got a good technique on
Yep.
on tying that fly and tying on that weed guard,
Yep.
which applies to
Yep.
many flies.
totally, and
you tie.
I'll link up a couple of videos, and we can kind of actually tie these.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure where we're gonna post this, first, but we'll definitely link up to this. Cool. So, what do you think? Getting back, we were talking about, it's cool, kind of chatting today, talking about going out Chinook fishing, and
Yeah.
Jay and some of the people that we want to connect with.
Yeah. That'd be,
Who's been, when you look back, your biggest influences with bass, and tying, that whole thing. I mean, I know you
Yeah.
kind of went over to Oklahoma. Did you just go in on your own, or was there any?
I mean, I hate it. It sounds kind of arrogant, but I didn't have anybody.
Yeah.
Right. In fact, people. I remember. I don't know how I made it through college because I fished all the time, but there was bodies of water everywhere in
Yeah.
Oklahoma, and there was a lake in town, and I remember cowboys driving by, hooping and hollering
Yeah.
at me, kind of laughing that I'm fly fishing.
Right.
And so I didn't have anybody, and that was good because it kind of drove me to be
Yeah.
like, no, I'm going to really do this.
Totally.
And I remember one time I caught this. There was this one bass. I knew where he was at, this snag, and I couldn't catch him, and it was a November day.
Yeah.
And it was weird. It was like 70, even though it was November.
Yeah.
Anyways, I hooked this fish. He was about a 5-pound bass, and I just held him up to the people
Nice.
driving by, and then I let him go. And
Yeah.
they thought I was crazy. But my senior year, a fly shop came into town, and
No kidding.
Yeah,
Wow.
the guy's name's Matt Hoover, and
Yeah.
I actually just starting to reconnect with
Yeah.
him on
No
Facebook.
kidding,
But
that's
going out of
cool.
business, you
Yeah.
know, it's hard to run
I can see these mosquitoes are attacking. You
Yeah,
can see
they're-
them on the video. It's
Sorry,
great.
they're
Yeah.
getting a little crazy here. But anyhow, he was a guy that really helped me out a lot, though, in terms of letting me teach classes. And I think I helped him out
Yeah.
a little too. But,
Yep.
but so I didn't really have a lot of mentors, which was good, though, right? Because it allowed me to really learn and pick the stuff up. And that's the way I am, though. I don't mind doing
Yeah.
stuff and making a lot of mistakes.
Yep. It's the best way
Because
to
then I
learn.
learn it well.
Totally. It's the best way to learn. What do you think, other than, I know we got, and I try to think back to the way I know we were hooking up with basketball and stuff back in high school and thinking, that's probably where it started fly fishing. But, other than, kind of my dad and that whole thing, is there anybody else that, or is it the same thing where you just basically.
Well, so my love of outdoors, my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So got it on that. Yeah, no, my dad. I mean, he got me into the outdoors. Yeah,
Yep.
by far.
For sure.
Yeah, without a doubt. That's my
Yeah.
my dad was my
That's always
influence
a
on
cool
getting
thing.
in the outdoors.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
always a cool thing with the,
Yeah.
with the kids. Same
Yeah.
thing. You don't even realize it, but that trip you took, on the,
Oh, I remember all that.
well, and your kids will too. That's kind of the cool thing, is that
Yeah, I
they're,
hope so.
even when they go through those crazy times, they'll remember it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we're pretty much wrapping up. I think this is a good, we've covered all the kind of what I wanted to get into. Is there anything else that you can think of that, again, I always think of you get this person, I know there's
Yeah.
different people that are going to be watching this, but the person that's just getting into it, anything we didn't cover that maybe that would help them get started, or do you think?
No, I just think, once again, don't go into bass fishing think it's going to be easy like I did.
Yeah.
Because again, around here, trout, salmon, steelhead, that's kind of the game, right? And so a
Yeah.
lot of people go for bass, think it's just real easy. And
Yep.
if you're because I fish for them in winter. I
Right.
fish for them all the
Like,
time.
you think you can throw on a
you
throw on a
can't
woolly
just-
bugger and just frickin' some weight,
Right.
and just go catch fish?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
they're just as smart as a rainbow trout.
Doesn't work that way. Yeah. And in fact, the nice thing about largemouth bass is, they may not fight as hard as the trout and everything, but they get really big. There are some big I mean, last year when I was here, right here on this lake in August, I was here. There was nobody else on the lake. I was able to break
Yeah.
free for a little bit. We were on a little vacation, and I had I measured him. He was about a 14-inch bass on after the fact, but I was reeling him up, and out of the depths, another big bass came, got him halfway in his mouth, saw me, and spit him out and went.
Yeah,
That was probably a 10-pound fish
no shit.
right here.
And that was here at Davis.
Yeah.
Yep. And we got a little bit of road noise behind us,
Yeah.
as the yahoos from around the countryside are rolling in to check out. We're in the evening, actually. This is kind of the cool thing.
Along with the mosquitoes.
Yeah, totally. As you look behind Greg, you can kind of see, other than the beverage Greg has in his hand, which is a tasty beverage, she's got this rock. I'm just going to zoom up a little bit and see how big this thing is, because it's kind of crazy.
Oh, yeah.
This, folks, is a lava flow. Back in, what year was it, Greg, when this flowed?
1980.
19 odd.
We
No,
were
but
having
this
that
is-
discussion.
This
I
is
don't
pretty
know.
cool. We're sitting at the base of a humongous, which is probably miles long.
Oh yeah, it's
And
on the
we're-
road. You drive along
Totally.
it for miles.
Yeah, it's really cool. So this is kind of like bringing back some, in perspective where we're at. But yeah, so anyways, I don't have anything else. I just wanted to, again, let them, your email you mentioned before, we will attach that.